Outer Orange.
Privyet, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Shadowverse Evolve. So as you guys know, my team recently placed top 4 at Duluth, and I'm here to basically talk to you guys about the other 2 decks. I made a video about my Haven list, but however, it wasn't just me who helped with topping. It was obviously 2 other people with me, and I would say they outperformed me definitely in top 8. So didn't really get a chance to sit down with them and kind of go over their list, but they did hand me their list. So I thought I would talk to you guys about the top 4 lists, and we're gonna go ahead and start off with Dragon. This is Dai's list. He runs 41 cards in this deck, which yes, it's very interesting, but this is a pretty tested list. He decided to go with Ramp Dragon, and basically the point of it was to just board wipe your opponent and kind of play for the control to then drop big bodies, hope they don't have an answer, and kind of kill. And that's basically what he decided. That's basically what he decided on here. He really valued the Lightning Blast. He tended to use it quite a lot throughout his games. From what I've seen, obviously the Genesis Dragon is a really great finisher. We got the Forte special, the Olivias, and then obviously Bahamut and Israfil, being able to kind of close out where they can, and in the middle kind of using Rico to help with those pushes. I still despise this card, by the way. I still hate this card so freaking much. We're obviously running the Sybil, which is Colin, and then we have the Dragon Warrior, the Dragon Oracle. We got the Mage as well, and then we have Conflag, of course. We got the Serpent's Wrath, and then Shenlong, obviously. But we have the Dragon's Nest as well, along with Blazing Breath, and then the 3 Bell Ringers. From what I've seen, he really played to kind of always have floating mana, and to kind of play with the opponent, like, and kind of make them think or overthink or kind of try to do plays that he would just basically board wipe them. That's what I mainly saw. I think he also played into the fact that if he had to play something, even without overflow, he would play it anyway. That's just kind of how his playstyle is. He has a very specific playstyle. Doesn't always play to like what people typically play into. He kind of thinks on the spot and kind of goes with the flow of what the game state is, which I think is really cool. Israfil is kind of insane. I think the top heavy end of this deck is like low-key like just cracked, because I struggle into Dragon because I have trouble kind of playing into the big bodies, because Israfil is, you want to play around Israfil a lot, but that means you have to have stood dudes. If you don't have stood dudes, then she just murders everything, because she'll just swing and strike on strike, just kill everything, right? But then you also have to be very a Forte, so you still need to ward. But then sometimes there's just a Genesis Dragon just gets thrown out of nowhere, and then on top of that, sometimes you do ward up like crazy, and then Rico drops, and you're like, okay, cool. I guess my everything will just get killed anyway, because this card's just insane. Her strike is wild. Card's nuts. So this Spanish it does. Like, I think the evolve list is pretty straightforward. I can't remember what the argument was. It usually people ran Dragon Warrior at 1, or they ran the Mage at 1. I can't remember what the argument was, but he basically valued running them at 2. It might have been that people ran Forte or Israfil at higher copies, and he chose to run the lower cost at higher copies, which is fine. He did play for the early cost units pretty well too. And yeah, that's basically Dai's list. I'm gonna go switch over to Abyss, because I do know Abyss a lot well, and this is Tyler's list. This is a list that I was also testing with Tyler. I'm a big fan of mill decks, so when this was getting crafted, I was kind of crafting an extremely similar list, actually. And basically, when we really started discussing like Abyss and what's possible of it, we basically kind of landed on Ector. I say we, but obviously Tyler is the one that piloted this deck, and just at the same time he was piloting it, I was also playing it and testing it, but I was also mainly focused on Haven, of course. So he definitely has more insight than I do. But I definitely agree with this list. Of course, to each their own. This is a mill deck. You can like move some ratios around, but I actually really agree with this variant. Some people don't run the Bell Ringer. Some people do. I value the Bell Ringer personally, so I agree with the Bell Ringer being at 3, but otherwise that this is a very, very well thought out list. Long story short, you're basically playing for the mill, and then this card is like disgusting. If you're running a Mill Abyss and you're not running this card, you're really not doing yourself justice. Like, Zombie's just insane. I think at some point Tyler didn't have Zombie, and instead he had the spell card that's a 2-drop that basically deals 3 to something. And mills 1 card, and this card just does so much more work than that card did. It's funny because I actually really valued that spell, and then I found out myself as well while testing it that the Zombie's just insane. This card's disgusting. That extra damage that the ghost brings out is just so good. The discard's really good because you get to discard these top heavy cards, and also you can discard like departed cards as well, like Ector. And then you can just bring him back later with cards like Death's Breath. You kind of play into for the Demonium. Demonium's like disgustingly strong in this deck. It just carries so hard on its own. We have these mill card engines here. We have the healing. This really helps to stay out of lethal range a lot of the times. Also, she's a 4/4. She can't get surefired, which is my biggest favorite thing about her, is that she can't get surefired. And then we also have Marensky. Marensky is just disgusting. I had to play around this card so much in testing. This card's just obnoxious. I hate this card. It's so freaking annoying. I have a love-hate relationship. It's a good card, but God, I hate facing into it. Some don't run Odell. Tyler, while he was testing, discovered that Odell was just really cracked. She can close out games extremely fast because she does have Storm. Sometimes you did hit Necrocharge 20, and just reviving her and going, okay, Storm. Also, on top of that, she deals 2 damage to each enemy leader and enemy follower on the board. So she can also, like, basically wipe a little bit as well while she's also doing her thing. She also deals 2 damage to each leader and each follower on the field on Fenfair. So on Fenfair she does damage, and then on Swing she also does damage. So something to keep in mind if the wards are gone, this thing usually swings for lethal, and if you have Ector on the board too, it's basically game. Also, Azazel in this deck is disgusting because a lot of decks like to play for the long game. And this card basically puts you on a clock, because once this card drops, the next card's coming after that is going to be Ector, Israfil, but some kind of combo of that formation, and you usually can't deal with that much. If you're getting Ectored, you can get Ectored with the lesser mummies, and they'll have Storm on them, and you usually die in that turn. If they have Death Breath, you're basically like you're in a big danger zone. You have to mandatorily have to wipe this card the minute it falls onto the board. You can't let this card live, because if this card lives and the Ector gets revived, you're basically dead, because you're staring at 6, potentially 12 damage in the face, maybe even more, depending on what's going on with the board state. So if not that, Israfil can come down too, and Israfil just says, I'm huge. You know, they can keep their stuff stood. If you can't answer the Israfil, you're guaranteed dead the turn after with the Azazel and the Israfil. Also, Death Breath gives ward, which makes these little numbers, like huge as hell. Like, they just get really massive. Now, we are talking about Necrocharge 20 here. You're not always going to get to Necrocharge 20, but even at 10, it's very, very lethal. And then also, Ector can revive the Demonium, and you can just sit there and just heal and bane for like every single turn over and over again. It's pretty annoying. But overall, I think this deck's like insane. It's not like the best deck or anything like that, but it is really high up there. It should definitely not be like looked down on or anything like that. This deck's really strong. It does have some bad matchups. It does need time to set up, and also if your mills are bad, your game plan is going to be bad, and there is no like direct real search in this deck right now, so you're really reliant on just drawing good cards and milling good cards, which is probably the weakest part about the deck. Here is what the evolve looks like. I really valued the Monarensky, that's why she's at 3, and then you only really have room for 1 zombie. Got the 2 mummies, the Azazel, the Israfil, and the 2 parrots for fine motion, basically. And that's basically the list. I think this, like I said, I think it's a really well built list. I'm sorry I'm talking about this list for die. This towards die. I just know so much more about Abyss than I know about Dragon in terms of building structure. And like I said, I'm just talking basically for the 2 players. They could probably talk even more about these lists if they had the opportunity to. They'd probably explain their matchups better than I ever could. Overall, they performed really well. I think we all went X2 in Swiss, but they definitely, like I said, they were winning their games in top 8. Nice. And then going into top 4, one of us lost, 2 of us lost, 1 of us won. But it wasn't me, you know? So then we lost. I think I actually won top 8. I don't remember if I won my top 8 match. I did win top 8. That's right. I faced Sword. And I did beat Sword. I think we all did a pretty good job in theory crafting. If you need to see it, I do have my Haven list here. However, I did also make a video on it, so you can also check out the video. I'm not going to go over it again. I have the whole video kind of doing that for us. But long story short, this is just like an early aggro control deck. I played for the early aggro. I think the biggest thing to kind of keep in mind is the main U. Die's gonna shoot. Like, you are never gonna shut up this card. It just did a lot of work. It did a lot of work all day. Anytime in testing, it came up a lot. It's just a good card. Obviously, as meta shifts, this card will probably be shifted out too, but for the time being, this card's insane. But I think that's the biggest thing to kind of look at. I think that's the biggest change. I'm not running Explosion. I like Explosion, I just don't value it in the current meta that we're in. Maybe in a different meta, it'll be a better card to play in a deck like this, or maybe it'll be a better card to play in a different craft, because, you know, Fable cards are neutrals. So I don't know. Long story short, this is sort of what I went with, and for the most part, it's like the Fable core with a couple changes, right? So if you want to get anything out of this video in terms of my list, I highly recommend Acolyte's Light. This card is wrecked. Very, very good card to see into Israfil matchups, into Dragon matchups, into basically big body matchups, into Abyss. This card's disgusting because they lose their pieces. So yeah, something to think about. This card's pretty good, pretty up there. Anyway, that's it for this video. I just wanted to kind of show you guys the lists. I know it's not the best showcasing the world. I don't have directly the 2 players that played with me, but big shout outs to them. They performed really well. I think they did a really good job. I think we all equally did a pretty good job. I think I fumbled the bag a little bit more in the top games, but I think during Swiss we all performed really well. We all kind of lifted each other, and it was just a really nice vibe. I think we all just did our best, and I couldn't be more thankful for just how amazing they were as people and as teammates. And it was just a really good time. We had a really good weekend overall. We all played Vanguard too, by the way. Day 1, that was something. say the least. But anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative to you in any way. If you have any questions, you can, you know, leave them below. I can answer them to my best ability. Subscribe. 50 cards on shop. Code Orange if you need any of your goodies. We do have a new set coming up for Shadowverse. Also, if you play other card games, he does Vanguard and Pokemon, and I think Vice as well. So those are also options. Code Orange. Get yourself some goodies. All right, guys. Peace out. That's for that. I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye.